Hey guys, so today I'm going to be doing my what I read in 2023. This is like a little late. We're like towards the end of January, but you know, I feel like last year I posted it halfway through the year. So improvements, we're making improvements, and I feel like that's all we can really hope for. So before we get into it, I just want to put this out there. I did not reach my reading goal for 2023. I had wanted to read 65 books and I read 32. So I read a little less than half a book, less than half. I think I talked about this in my 2022 reading video. I had started the year in a slump, and that slump continued till like halfway through the year. I read a couple books and I was like, wow, I'm like picking up speed. And then I hit another one, and then not until the end of the year did I start getting back into reading. And I will say I am back into reading now. I don't know, 2023 was not my reading year. I think that it's possible I put a little too much pressure on myself with reading, as in I was really enjoying the annotating and tabbing and it was really fun for me, but then it almost felt like I was pushing myself to annotate every single book I read, and then it almost made reading feel like a chore, like I'm doing homework. And I have a feeling that's what it is. So yeah, I read less than half my reading goal. A little disappointing. A lot of what I read this year is manga as well, which obviously those are real books, they are, but they are easier reads because I can read them less than an hour because they are more of like the graphic novel type style. So just want to put that out there before I get started on everything, because you are gonna see that my reading goal just didn't happen and I was not in the best reading year. Also, I will be doing another tier list like I did last time. I think it's just kind of fun, and also like makes it so you can kind of see how different my rating kind of goes. Two books could be a 4 but not fall in the same category in the tier list, or like, I hope that makes sense. Okay, so the first book I read in 2023 was the first Yona of the Dawn, which I owned this book and was one of the books I was like, I need to read this, I own it. I got this recommendation from A Clockwork Reader, who's a booktuber. Really good one, I love her videos. And I read this, and going into this, I had read like a couple manga like you guys saw from last year, and I was actually very excited for this one, and it was very good. It lived up to the hype. You'll see that I liked it, but I read this first one, and I gave it a 4 because, like I said, sometimes in series I have a little bit of a hard time getting into the first book just because like there's so much world building and like characters I need to get used to. But I did give this book a 4. Basically, it's about Yona, who's this princess, and something big happens where she has to leave her kingdom, and the only person who can come with her is her bodyguard slash he's her friend, and they like grew up together. And so the whole series just explores that, and then she learns lots of things about herself and lots of things about so many different stuff. So I really like this. I gave it a 4. Okay, so I'm gonna move this first book into A. I don't know, that feels right to me. I really liked it. It like got me very interested in the series. Then the next 2 books are also from Yona of the Dawn, and that is volume 2 and 3. I'm not gonna get like in depth into these just because it's hard for me when I read these so long ago, and now like the whole story is like in my head. But I read the second one a 4 and the third one a 5. And my problem with this is I feel like these are gonna be a little hard to rate, so I'm gonna put this one in A once again. Okay, so 3 I got 5 because you actually meet some new characters, new people join them on their little mission, and I really like that aspect of the book. I don't know if I would put this in S. I don't know if this is an S tier series for me, so I think this is also gonna go in A. I can move it in front of these 2, but I just don't know if this is an S tier series for me. Then I started reading Hunter x Hunter because now that I was like reading manga, I'm like, I need to start reading like the very popular ones, and I know like Hunter x Hunter is a really popular one, and I know that One Piece is super popular, and I read the back of both, and just Hunter x Hunter seemed like more my style, and so I started reading Hunter x Hunter, and once again, really liked it. Really enjoyed it. I like the main characters. I gave the first book a 5, which is really big for me. I did really enjoy it. It was like something I really like. So basically, it's a world where there are these like monsters, and there are monster hunters. And to become an official monster hunter, you have to take this test, and it's like very difficult, like risking your life test you're going on. And this kid, his dad was a monster hunter and died by a monster. I read this so long ago. Is like, I'm gonna take this test, and he's like fairly young, and he's like taking this test. So I don't know. It's very interesting. I give this an A. And once again, I'm not sure if this is an S tier series yet for me, but I've not read as many. Then some more Yona of the Dawn. I read 4, 5, and 6. And 4 and 5 I gave 5 stars, and 6 I gave 4 stars too. So for 4, I'm going to put them all in A. So there's that. Now, back to a physical copy of a book I have. I read Maybe in Another Life by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and if you watched my like 2023 TBR, this book has a big story behind it. Basically, I heard someone talking about a concept of a book that sounded a lot like this. I'm not sure if it actually was this, because when I asked them what the book was, they said, I'm actually going to gatekeep this. And then I finally found this book, and I was very excited. And at this point, I had already read Taylor Jenkins Reid because, like, you know, I've talked about it here. And so I did go into this book with huge expectations. I went into it thinking I'm going to love it because it's like alternate realities where, like, if you did this, this could have happened and this could have happened, and you're following both of them based on a choice that the main character makes. I love the concept of that, right? But ultimately, I felt a little disappointed. It felt almost like the message of the story was a little surface level, not that deep. I don't know. I just feel like it didn't take a lot away from it. And, like, I still gave this book a 3 stars, but I felt kind of disappointed. And it could have been because I really hyped it up easily. But it's what happened, and so it is getting a 3, which isn't a bad rating, but I do think I'm going to put it in C because I finished this book and I have not thought about it since. I have not thought about this book for a second since. So then I read Yona of the Dawn 7. I'm so sorry, this is what the whole video is going to be. And I rated it a 5, so I'm going to put it in A. Then I read Spy Family Volume 9, and Spy Family is an S tier book series for me. I love the characters. I love Anya. I just love everyone. Lloyd, Yor. I love this series so much. I don't know. I have not read one I didn't love. They don't disappoint ever. And so I read Volume 9. Super good. Obviously, I love it. 5 stars. Going to move it to S tier because it's Spy Family. I love everyone. I love the book. Then, the next book I read is Beach Read by Emily Henry because at that moment, this has been the only Emily Henry book I had not read, and I do love Emily Henry's writing. Emily Henry actually is one of the only romance book recommendations that I took from TikTok that I actually genuinely have loved and have, like, been like, okay, I will buy Emily Henry's book because, like, so many people have said, I feel like Emily Henry's writing, it's not just romance because you know so much about the characters, you know so much about what's happening in their lives. It's more fiction with romance, and I love them. I think their writing is so good. This isn't a hot take, but as someone who has read so many romance books from TikTok and ultimately did not like most of them, Emily Henry has stuck true. She has stayed on top. She really has. And so I did give this book a 5 stars. Okay, this one I did love because I also just feel like with Emily Henry books, I can't imagine them as movies in my head. Then the next book I read, which is also a romance book, is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. This is a YA romance. I sometimes find it difficult to read YA romance for the fact that if they're like in high school, I'm just like, eh. Like, I'm not in high school anymore, and it's just like, it almost is like, okay, they'll be cringy, and I'm like, they should be because they're 16, and I was very cringy at 16. It's not even like cringy, it's just like that's how they act because that's how you know the world at that age, right? Like, in that vein. But I almost can't do it. I almost cannot do it. It's almost too much for me. It almost makes me cringe at myself and what I've done in the past. And so I did like this book. I did. And it just, like, I couldn't be as attached to it as I feel like so many other people have been because of that fact. Like, it was just, like, because I've read some YA, I just can't do, like, the high school usually because it's usually. Because it's just, like, they make me cringe. And I'm like, I can't even be upset because I would have done the same thing if I was 16. Or I would have thought the same thing because I was 16. And I do also think, I don't want to make people mad, I do also think that this book just in general isn't as good as it's hyped up to be, and that's my personal opinion. That's not to say that I think the people that love it are, like, dumb. I think if they think it is, like, obviously they're the prime demographic and I wasn't. It just, like, I don't know, there were some plot points that just didn't stick for me and didn't, like, hit the same. But I gave this book a 3 stars, so not to say I didn't like it, but once again, I think this is just gonna be in the C category. Oh my gosh, I didn't rank Beach Read. Now beach read. Beach read I might put A, but front of A. Sorry, I didn't rank it yet. Then I read Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And now this is what I expect from Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is the quality content I expect from Taylor Jenkins Reid. And is it possible that I just love this book because it's an older sister? Maybe. Sue me, okay? Sue me. But I loved this book. I started reading this book when I was on a trip with my friends, and then I came home and I literally finished this book so fast. I read this book so fast. It's such a fast-paced book because it basically takes place in one day, and you do go back and forth, but I loved it. I absolutely loved this book. I don't know, there's just something about Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing that just, it captivates me and pulls me in immediately. And so that's how I felt about this book. I think it was really good. I would really recommend that. And obviously, I rated that book a 5. Oh, I can read you what I wrote. I wrote for this book. I don't know if there's spoilers in it. Oh my god, these characters will always have a special place in my heart. I want to give Nina, Jay, Hud, and Kit a big hug. I don't even know what to say about the book, but I laughed and cried. It was so perfect and made my heart feel warm. Stand by that fact. And so this is going an S. I love this book. I love it. I think it's really good. It might be I don't know, I love all her books. They're just so good. Then I read She Drives Me Crazy by Kelly Quinlan. Once again, had the high school romance that I don't love that much. So I have kind of the same feelings as with this as I do with Better Than the Movies. So I feel like I don't have anything crazy to say. And I also I love the fake dating trope, and for some reason this just didn't do it for me. And I think this actually happened to me recently, which I'll talk about a different video, but it was fake dating and almost it felt forced. I don't know, I just didn't connect that much to this book either. And so yeah, I gave this book a 3. I think I will also be putting this in C. I think that's fair. Some people love it and I can see why they love it. I think it just ultimately goes back to, I think I need to never pick up a high school romance again. Because I don't even mean YA romance. I can really get into a YA romance. I can really get into a YA book. But it's the YA high school. It's the 16, it's I just can't do it. And it's a me problem, and I know that. So then next I read 7 Days in June by Tia Williams, and I saw this book hyped up a lot. I think I actually read this in June, if I'm not wrong. The beginning chapters are a crazy way to start a book, but I do think the romance in this is super cute, and her being a single mom I like. And it wasn't just super cute, it had a lot of depth. The romance had a lot that happened because it's second chance romance. And I think I really liked this. I liked it a lot. I gave it a 4, ultimately because I felt my main critique of this book is I felt her daughter did not act her age. I felt she acted older than she really was. And that I kept thinking that throughout the book. Every time her daughter talked, I'd be like, if they had just made her older, I wouldn't be as offended. But I just feel she acted older than her age. But I think that's the only complaint I had about it, but it did keep bothering me. It kept taking me out of the world. And so, yeah, that's Better Than Movies. I gave a 4-star. I think I will put it B, the front of B. I think that's fair. Then I read Before the Coffee Gets Cold, and this is hyped up everywhere. Everyone's you need to read this book, you need to read this book. It was super fast and easy read, but also the story is super interesting because I don't know, I like the concept of being able to travel back in time in this coffee shop and then making a decision that can change. I really like this concept, and I just read it so very fast. I did give it a 4 because it just wasn't a perfect book for me, but I would recommend people reading it. I've seen people give criticism, say it's not as deep as people say it is, but I just really liked it. Not even to say that I took a lot away from it. I'm not even always going into books being I really need to take something away. But I think it's a very interesting concept. I haven't read the other ones. I think if I read the other ones, I might start feeling this is kind of overdone, and I don't know if I will feel the same about the others, but I really did like this book. And I think more people should read it. I know it's already super popular, so it's not underappreciated or anything, but I just really like it. I finally read the final book of the Inheritance Game series, The Final Gambit by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. And how do I explain this? I do think that these books are slightly overhyped, and Part of it is, I will explain. I will explain, and there will be spoilers. So, this book has a love triangle. And like I've explained before, it's not a love triangle, because not all of them like each other. It's a love vector, an angle, a line, whatever you want to say. It's not a love triangle. I didn't care for either of the options. And I felt like almost the romance was just, in this book, was just as big as just the main central plot. And to me, I literally did not want her with either, and I did not want to hear about them, actually. And so, like, I had one that I liked more, but I wanted neither. I wish neither was an option, but I knew neither wasn't an option. And so it almost felt like it was overshadowing the central actual plot of the book, and I literally just got bored. And I was like, I just don't care. Like, people were like, I can't wait to read the last one, who is she gonna choose? And I'm like, I just don't care. I actually just don't want to know. And so it kind of like, I don't know, it just made this series not as important to me as other people like feel about it. And this isn't to say I gave it a bad rating. I did give it a 4, and the person she chose is who I liked slightly more, but like by this much. But I don't know, and I feel like the characters I liked, like I really liked her. The other brothers, I liked Xander and I liked Nash, and they just didn't get a lot of time, and I did not want to hear about Jameson and Grayson anymore. I just didn't. And so I gave it a 4. Not to say it's bad. It's, oh my gosh, I didn't read Before the Coffee Gets Cold. I think this is also an A for me. I'm gonna put it there. The Final Gambit I'm putting in B. And I won't be reading any more of this series. This series is done for me. Like, I don't feel the need to read The Brothers Hawthorne, especially because it wasn't from the perspective of Xander and Nash, and that's who I wanted to hear. I actually don't want to hear from Jameson and Grayson anymore. I actually don't at all. And I think there's another one coming out, but like in my mind, the series is done. I also felt like the wrap-up of this series wasn't like the most interesting to me, the most creative, but I did still give it a 4. So I think they're fun and easy reads. I still recommend them, obviously, but... Okay, now our next book, on a totally different spectrum, is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. And I don't even know how to put this into words. This is it is one of my favorite books I've read of all time. It might be my favorite, which is so funny because I have never gotten super into fantasy, but this book, the writing of this book, I read the first, like the prologue, and I was already astonished. I was blown away by how good of a writer Tracy Deonn is. Like, the prologue, like, okay, if you've never read this book, literally next time you're at a bookstore or the library, pick up this book, read the prologue. The writing is insane and so good. I love the main character. I love the storyline. I love everything. Brie is just such a good character. Like, I am not smart enough to articulate my thoughts on this book, because the writing of this book is so good. It's so good. And you know, when I'm all dramatic and I'm like, this book changed my life, I found another. I love this book. This book is amazing. This book is next level. I cannot describe to you how good this book is. Like, you need to, if you like fantasy at all, if you like reading at all, go read this book. It's so good. The writing is, I don't even know. It's just so good. And I gave this a 5, obviously. And this is moving right to S, right at the front where it won't be taken down. And like, people need to read this book. That's all I have to say. Okay. Now that I've done all of that, we can talk about our next book. So the next book I read is Happy Place by Emily Henry. I don't own this book because it didn't come out in softcover, and all my other Emily Henry books are softcover, and I just don't want one to be hardcover. But I read this book from the library, and I really like this book. I had to wait a little bit to read this book since I got it from the library. I feel like almost people overhyped it to me that I didn't like it as much as I could have. I still gave it a 4. I still liked it, obviously, but I just think it was a little overhyped. I liked the concept of the book. I liked all the characters. I loved the friendship aspect of the book so much. I just think that, like, there's a possibility that I could reread it and it could be a 5. It was just like, I was going into it being like, this is about to be the best book ever, and it just wasn't for me, and I still really liked it. Like, it's not to say I didn't really like it. It didn't hit as hard as people said it was going to for me, but I really did like it. I liked everyone in it, and so it is still gonna be in the A category. It's not like a B 4, it's like still a high 4. Okay, then I did some more manga reading. I read Hunter x Hunter Volume 2, and I think I gave this this one I gave a 4. This one I didn't like as much as the other one. I don't know why. I don't remember why. So, but it's still gonna go in the A category. I'm just gonna put it at the end just because I don't remember why I didn't exactly love it. Then I read Yono the Dawn Volume 8. I gave this book a 5, so once again, it will go up here. I'm just gonna put it like there because I don't remember exactly where the 4s were. And then lastly, I read Hunter x Hunter Volume 3, and I think I gave this one a 5. Yeah, I gave this one a 5. I really liked this volume. It was like really getting into it. I haven't read any more of them because my library doesn't have Volume 4 right now, so I can't read it. But I have really been enjoying them. I can see myself really getting into them and then in turn really getting into the anime. But that is, I think, all the manga for this year. So let's get into books I have in fact already talked about, and that is Percy Jackson, The Lightning Thief, Percy Jackson, Sea of Monsters, and then I read Percy Jackson, The Titan's Curse. And I've already like talked about these and I have a whole video about them, so I'm not going to do like super in-depth anything. But if I'm not wrong, I gave number 1 a 4, number 2 a 3, and number 3 a 4. Because 4 is really where the writing started picking up and me, like, I really started loving them. Started happening was with 3. But Annabeth wasn't in it, so that's why it's a 4. And the second one, I just couldn't get into as much, and I don't know why. The fight scenes just weren't it. And then number 1, again, with the series, hard for me to get into before I know everyone, so I don't usually love the first one as much as the rest. So that I read those 3, and then I took a little break from Percy Jackson. But for number 1, I'm going to put an A. Number 2, I'm going to put an B. And then number 3, I'm going to put an A, but in front of number 1. Then I read Solitaire by Alice Oseman. And this is Tori's book, if you don't know. This is Tori's book. I think this came out before Heartstopper, if I'm not wrong. I gave this book a 3. I had a little bit of a hard time like fully feeling like this book is realistic, and it is supposed to be a realistic book. Like it's not like a super fantasy or anything. Like, it is supposed to be realistic. I just had a hard time getting into it, but it was very interesting to hear more about Tori and like what she goes through, and because you don't get to see that from any of the Heartstopper stuff. So I did really like that. That's why I gave it a 3. I do think ultimately I'm gonna put it in C. I think I'm gonna put it in C just because like it was okay for me. Okay, then I read Volume 10 of Spy Family. I gave this a 5. I loved this one because in this one you get to see a little bit of Lloyd's childhood, a little bit childhood trauma, a little thrown in, you know. I just think this allowed you to connect with Lloyd more, and I just really loved it. I love Spy Family. I can never recommend Spy Family enough. Go read Spy Family. The Found Family, I love it. I love this book so much. Then I read This Winter by Alice Oseman, which is just like a novella. It's like just it's like the Christmas from Tori, Charlie, and Oliver's point of view. Just one Christmas. I liked this. It was interesting. I give it a 4. I have nothing like against it. It just wasn't like my favorite thing ever, but I think it was cute. I have been getting all the new recovers of the Alice Oseman books, so that's why I have the physical copy. Oh, Spy Family goes in S. This Winter, I'm going to put in B. I think that's fair. So yeah, I think it was cute. Well, there was really sad stuff, but I don't know, I like getting a look into like the family dynamics. Okay, then I read Heartstopper Volume 5. You guys saw like my reaction if you watched that vlog. I gave this a 5. Obviously, it's getting an S. This might be my favorite volume. I really like Volume 4. This is a contender for favorite volume. I just think, I don't know. I love them so much. I love Nick and Charlie so much. I read these and I literally am just like, oh my god, the whole time. I'm like so annoying the whole time. And that's how I was the whole time reading this. I love, and I can't believe there's only one more volume left. But it's fair. I get it. I love these though. I love Heartstopper. I really love these. I love these. Cannot recommend these enough. One of my S tier series. You know what I mean. Okay, then I read Volume 4 of the Percy Jackson Olympian series. This is The Battle of the Labyrinth. I gave this book a 5 because like I said, book 3, 4, 5 really like were just next level for me, and Annabeth was in this one. I think I was just so drawn in this book. I loved it so much. I love the characters. I love getting to know everyone. I think the stakes are higher. I really like this. Okay, I think I'm gonna put this one in A above the other two. Yeah, that feels right to me. So there's that book. Then I read The Secret History by Donna Tartt, which I've had this book for a while. I bought it after I read If We Were Villains, because I was like, if I like If We Were Villains, I'll like this book, and I had people telling me to read it. It was like a whole thing. I finally read this book. It took me a long time to read, but the writing was so good. I don't think I didn't like this book as much as If We Were Villains. I think just because in Dark Academia, I think you're always gonna have like kind of unlikable main characters, but I think there was a point that they crossed that was just a little too much for me, and so I do give this a 4. I think the writing was immaculate. I think the story was crazy. Were any of the characters that lovable? That's questionable. That's really questionable. They did some awful things, and like there's levels to everything, but I did really like this book. I gave it a 4. It's gonna go in A. I'm gonna put it like at the front, because the writing was just really good, and I really liked it. I love the vibes of Dark Academia. Okay, and then the last book for 2023 was The Last Olympian in the Last Olympian series, book number 5, and I gave this a 5 stars. This one was my favorite. I loved it so much. It was so good. I finished and I was like, I want to read more. I want to read more now. And so I'm going to put this one in S because I just really like it. I'm like fully connected to the characters now. I want to see what happens. I just think it was so good. I think the ending was so good, and it had a kind of wrapping up with still like getting you excited for the next books, the next anything that's gonna happen. But yeah, that was what I read in 2023. I feel like I didn't go as in-depth with these books as I usually do, and this is partially because this is just not a great reading year for me, and although these books, none of them are bad, it's like I didn't feel that attached to anything super, like I didn't have like strong opinions on anything because I was like not really reading, not really into it. But I will say this year will be better. I already know. Also, this year I'm going to start doing monthly wrap-ups where I'm going to go more in-depth in each book, and there will be spoilers, and then at the end of the year we'll just like, I'll briefly give like a sentence of the book and then I'll rank them, and I think that will be better. So that's that. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you liked any of the books I talked about today, comment down below, and subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. But that's gonna be about it, so bye guys!